The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
That's right. This is the place. You tuned into the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. Denver's here.
Good morning.
Margie's here.
Good morning.
Marv is here.
Yes, I am.
With bells on. Right? Welcome, everyone. We are broadcasting from the studios of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting in Albany, Oregon.
Just don't drink. Walk if you're ready.
That's right.
This is the place. This is the place where I wear no mask. I am who I am, not part of the past. Get a little taste of saving grace. Hook up to the human race. Come on in.
That's right.
This is the place.
That's right. This is the place. The studios of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting worldwide via the internet and all your favorite podcasting platforms. 16 years of broadcasting the best, the gold standard in recovery talk and recovery music for you. We're glad you're with us. The topic this week is there life after meetings? Are we doomed to attend 90 and 90 forever? And ever and ever, and if we stop going, will we relapse? Is doom around the corner? We're going to talk about all that stuff, but that's our brand new theme song for 2021. Michael Purrington and the Messengers with their song "This Is the Place." Yes, indeed. What do you think, Denver?
No mask. Is that? Did you edit that or
no? That's
how fitting for the times.
Right? Yeah, right.
I liked it.
Right?
I liked it. Very catchy.
What do you think, Margie?
I like it. Yeah, I like the no mask thing. Yep.
What do you think there, Marv?
Heavy, man.
Heavy, man. That's right. Oh my goodness sakes! Yes, indeedy. Well.
Hey, Monty Man, let's see if you remember this little ditty from many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to use it to usher in your weekly wine.
Oh, boy.
Hit it, maestro.
Who takes the time to blend your favorite wine, my friend?
That little old winemaker, me.
Who says you never can miss with Italian Swiss?
That little old winemaker, me.
Yes.
Wow.
Take you back, Marv?
Yeah.
Italian Swiss Colony wine. Yeah. Well, that's WINE. This is the weekly wine, WHINE, where the Monty Man whines about something that more than likely is 100% powerless over.
You reckon?
The U.S. Post Office.
Oh, yeah.
At least the one here in Albany, Oregon. So I went down there today. It opens up at 8:30, right? I mean, the outside lobby is open 24/7. But if your package is too big for your P.O. box, you get a little yellow slip that says so, and then you got to go show up and wait in that line, right? One guy, I get that. I get the cuts. I get all that. One guy, a line, 12 people. And you thought it was Christmas. They all had just enormous amounts of boxes that they were sending, which is all well and good. but I'm standing there. Now I'm handicapped, right? So I'm standing there with my cane, and I'm thinking to myself as I look over to the left, this entire wall is taken up by greeting cards. And I'm thinking to myself here, as somebody that deals with being handicapped and standing in a line for almost 45 minutes, right? First of all, who buys greeting cards at the post office? Have you ever bought a greeting card at the post office?
Standing in line browsing cards.
Yeah. So is that like is that what they call that, impulse buy or whatever?
Yes.
But I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if there was a bench right there? Because there are a lot of people, 60 years and up that can't stand that long, that would really benefit from a place to sit down. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and put your 6-foot distancing sticker every 6 feet on the big long bench if you want to. But I was thinking, who buys greeting cards? If you buy listeners, if you buy greeting cards at the post office, please email me at take12radio@comcast.net and tell me your story. I'd like
I get
to
them
know
all at
that.
the Dollar Tree for like 2 for $1.
Right. At Christmas time, a pack of 24 for $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we love you deeply.
Well, after you've bought it, you've got to stand in line and fill it out, too.
Right. But there's basically nothing to lean against. There's a glass case, but if you lean against that, it moves. And I'm like, so, in a country where we're supposedly very geared towards people with handicaps, why in the world are we standing in line at the post office without someplace to sit our blessed assurance down on?
Mm-hmm.
I have found myself during the holiday season traveling to Tangent
Oh, really? Because it's easier?
To use their post office.
The cute little one down there?
Yeah. The one you'll bypass every day,
right?
And you won't even notice it's there. There'll be a farmer or two pull in there, get his mail, and pull out. So it was well worth the drive to me because I have pulled in here and the line has just been backed up over to the carousel and people waiting on other people to pull out. And it's like, if there's no parking spots here, move on. Park down the block and walk, which I had to.
Or just come back later.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Like later.
Well, they got those
Did you notice that the people working there aren't very friendly?
There's one guy.
Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, I have. There's one guy that is. He's a little too friendly.
So if you buy a greeting card and fill it out,
give it to him,
get up to the counter and say, "Could I have a stamp?" They really get upset.
Well, I know. So I went. I had to pick up this box, and I knew it was going to be too big even for the window that I was standing at because now they got this plexiglass that supposedly solves the COVID problem, right?
Right.
And so I knew he was going to have to give it to me down on the other end where there's more room to put the box. But as soon as I had that yellow slip, I turned around. I could see the look on people's faces. The look was, here's one of those guys that's going to cause the postal worker to say, "I'll be right back. I will go get your box," which means I will vanish for 10 minutes.
Coffee break.
And I'm thinking I'm not the most loved guy in the line right now, But
you served your time.
Yeah, right?
What about those weird parking you have to back up? I got a ticket like a summer ago because I didn't see the sign or something, and I parked straight in. $25.
Wow. Well, I don't know whose idea that was. I guess they thought they were downtown Seattle or something.
Yeah.
But this isn't downtown Seattle.
Right.
As much as our lovely mayor would like to think it is, and all the expensive lighting, the runway. We call it a runway. You ever come across the bridge at night from North Albany and drive down the runway? The next time you do it at night, check that out. It's like you're coming in for a landing on a landing strip.
We used to call it running the gut.
Running the gut. Yeah.
Remember the days?
Oh, yeah.
Margie, did you get that from the mall cop?
I don't know what one of the parking enforcement people.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and we have a lovely man. We have a lovely man who thinks he's a law enforcement officer that likes to. Here's a little secret, guys. This guy rides around on a Segway.
Yes.
Right. It's like a RoboCop Segway.
Yeah.
Right. And it goes up and down the streets in downtown Albany with a pseudo law enforcement officer uniform. He is not law enforcement. Right. Handing out tickets for people that are like a 16th of an inch into the yellow, right?
He takes it pretty seriously.
He takes it very seriously. He is not a very pleasant man. And guess what? You don't have to pay those tickets.
Now you tell me.
I think he used to work at the post office.
I mean, you're supposed to pay the tickets, morally, I guess. But there's no... They're not part of the Albany Police Department. They're not... It's not part of the court system. It's the downtown association.
Oh.
So if you tear
I
up
want my $25 back.
If you tear up that ticket, don't do it in front of him and litter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like,
good to know.
We're talking the same one. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I see he pulls in over there at the courthouse regular.
Oh, he loves to pretend like he's Columbo or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Paul Blart.
That's interesting.
Paul Blart.
Yeah.
I'd like to take that Segway and take it for a spin. I mean, it looks like something out of RoboCop. It's not just your basic Segway, right? It looks like something Christopher Pike from Star Trek was in.
It's got bright lights. I know that. I saw it flashing 3 blocks away the other day.
But they're not red and blue, right?
No,
they're yellow.
Yeah. It's an amber.
Yeah, beware of the yellow lights in a uniform. You know, it's not real.
It's a mall cop.
So there you go. There's my weekly wine for this week. That's right. We'll be right back.
Hey, check it out. You can now access all of our shows from a variety of podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Podomatic, and Player FM. Simply search for Take 12 Recovery Radio, and you'll be tuned into the best in recovery broadcast journalism. Also available at take12radio.com.
That's right. If you've tuned in today, this is the place. The place for what? I don't know. Place for something.
For a giggle or two.
Yeah, for a giggle or two. Yes, indeedy. The topic this week is there life after meetings. What kind of meetings are we talking about? Board meetings, council meetings? No, those 12-step meetings, those recovery meetings. Is there life after that? Now, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Greg F. From Sonoma County, California. This is a guy I went to. Hi, Greg. Hey, buddy. Hey. Hey, bud. I don't hear him answer. So there he is, and a shout out to him. He is a 12-stepper like us, and he does the whole meeting thing and stuff. And he saw my announcement for the topic, and he said something to the effect of, "I can't imagine life without meetings. I go to like seven a week, right?" And I said, "Well, I think you might enjoy the show." Because, you know, the titles to the shows often are a hook. People make assumptions. Oh, he's going to talk about, you know, you don't have to go to meetings anymore. And, you know, people make assumptions like that. No, not necessarily. Because we got kind of a mixed bag in this room, right? Some don't necessarily attend many meetings. Some attend on a regular basis. Some it's part of their profession. I mean, it's the work that we do. So we're going to talk about that. But is there more to recovery than just drinking bad coffee and sitting in a chair for an hour to hour and a half every single day, listening to people share their experience, strength, and hope? Is there more to life than that? Or is it okay that is your life? Right? Because there are people, not just newcomers, not just people in their first 5 years, but people that have been doing the recovery deal for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, and they're in that meeting every single time the door is open. They are not missing that sucker. They are there. Do we fault them because it doesn't seem like they have a life outside of the meetings? Or do we even know if that's true or not? We just see them all the time. And if we see them all the time, doesn't that say that we're there all the time? So, what do you think about this? Is there life after meetings, Marv?
Oh, boy. Part of the implication of this topic is do meetings keep you sober? There's that long argument that you hear all the time in meetings.
Right.
Meeting makers make it and stuff like that. But
people that stop going, they fall off the rails. And
yeah.
And
it's common that people, and I'm speaking in a general sense, that they quit going. I kind of have this idea that between 5 and 7 years, it seems like people seem to drop off the map, and a lot of times they're out drinking. No doubt about it. But not all of them.
Not all of them, no.
The other situation that's come up in the last few months that I've seen is people with 30 years. All of a sudden, they're out drinking.
After 30 years of sobriety?
Yeah. A couple. Not a whole bunch.
Were they regular meeting attenders?
Yes.
Yeah.
But my idea about it, and I've experienced this, is I have gone to meetings every day for an extended period of time.
Sure, me too.
And then I've dropped maybe to 1 or 2 or 1 a week or something. And as I think about it, I guess what for me personally is I know they're there.
Yeah.
And I know I get help if I need it. And when I was going 7 days a week, I was in a bad situation mentally and emotionally.
Because you were going so often?
No,
or you were going so often because you were in a bad...
Because I was in a bad situation.
I got you.
And so I've done it long enough to know that, and this is just me, I'm not saying for anybody else, to me that is a gift from God, and I go back to it because I feel like the second tradition is right on the money. God expresses himself in our group conscience. So when I'm in a bind and I'm not getting any relief from my spiritual advisor or my sponsor, which nowadays isn't that often, but back in the day, I would go to meetings.
Yeah.
And but the thing about it is I had to let myself go to the meetings because there is, I think here a while back you made a comment. If you don't have any resentments, you haven't been to enough meetings.
Yeah.
So there's that too.
Sure.
But for me, it's kind of like telling myself it's okay to go. That God works in those rooms, and I'll get some help.
You've made a statement on several occasions that there's a lot of power in observation.
Yes.
Right? And which makes me think about, there's another question, why do we go to meetings? And so one of the reasons is if we're in a bind or before we're in a bind or whatever, but there's another aspect of this, and that is when we kind of, I'm not going to use the word, I'm not even going to say that word. Okay, when we move from kind of a different realm, we move from being new, whatever that means. Some people feel new even in 5 years, even in 10 years, right? Depending on the depth that they're working their program. But let's say 3 to 5 years. There's that realm we move out of and we move into of where we're not going as much to actually receive as to give, or to listen, to see to observe, to see where we can be of maximum service to God and the people in those rooms.
Exactly.
Right? And we make that kind of a shift.
Yes.
Right? Now, some may call that a form of service work, or at least being in tune with the heartache and the issues and helping the alcoholic who still suffers within the rooms, right? But some people will make that shift, and the way they help the alcoholic who still suffers is outside of the rooms. And that's okay too. But there is that shift that takes place. And at the same time, you're not abandoning the original reason you're there, because like you were saying, Marv, that's still there for when you're in a pickle or feel like you're going a little sideways or whatever. That piece is always still there. Because you can't spend your whole involvement within your 12-step fellowship giving yourself away, right? Not all of it. You got to get fed too.
Yeah. Well, I go to AA to learn to live life. I don't go to AA to have life.
Interesting.
Or to make it my life.
Right.
So
some people do, though.
Well, it seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Margie, let me ask you this. What about those people that do make it their life? I mean, they are involved. There's not enough stuff that you could create for them to get involved in. They're constantly, they're the people that say, never say no. And I'm one of those people that say you need to learn to say no.
Right.
But early on, that may be some good advice.
Right.
Don't turn down a request to pour coffee, clean a bathroom, open a meeting, open a door, everything from that all the way to being in a servant role as GSR or regional or whatever. But there are some people that they are 12-steppers in every aspect of their life. In fact, they will make the claim, I don't really have friends outside of my 12-step fellowship.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Is that okay?
Well, I guess it's an individual thing, Everybody has to do what's best for them, but I know people like that. I've known people like that for years since I've been in and out of AA. And for me, it works best if I'm like Marv. Like, I'll go to AA like every day when I'm hurting and when I'm really needing the support of, people that are going through the same thing or have been through the same thing as me. But I don't want AA to be my life, I want to work the principles of AA in my life.
Well said.
When I'm not in the rooms, I want to treat people with kindness and understanding and do the next right thing and, make amends and just, treat people the way that I want to be treated and follow the things that I've learned in AA and the steps and outside of the rooms and in the rooms too. But for me, if I get so wrapped up in the meetings and that's my whole life, then it gets overwhelming eventually for me.
Right.
And, it kind of is like a road to relapse for me. It gets overwhelming, and that's kind of a trigger for me. If I get overwhelmed about anything, then I had in the past have been prone to relapse. So, it's like moderation for me. It's, I love my AA meetings and, but I love a lot of other things in my life too.
Sure.
And, I have to learn to, kind of, compartmentalize a little bit, I guess. And, I don't know. Some people do get extremely wrapped up in AA, and if that's what keeps them sober, then so be it. But I found that I have to live my life with AA and other aspects of it as well for the best life I need.
So I think I used to be, at least in my head, very critical of people that made AA or NA or Celebrate Recovery or any of those things, that was all they ever did, right? Because I would kind of default to that thinking of, isn't the whole point is to learn how to become a productive member of society? And society encompasses way more than the Friday night complain about your day meeting, right? Or the Saturday night, everybody's wonderful meeting, or whatever meeting you go to. Yeah. But you know what? If somebody, if that's how they're becoming a productive member of society, isn't that helping society? If they're serving to that capacity, I mean, some people will go to Bible college and they'll do an internship in a church, and that is the very church they end up pastoring at. We don't fault them for staying in that church, right? So if somebody gets sober in a home group and their service work develops there, and then everything about that home group is where they do all of their giving back, and their life is consumed by that, and they're staying sober, and more than staying sober, they're actually developing a healthy relationship with a power greater than themselves. And isn't that okay? I'm a whole lot less critical of that now.
Yeah, I think it's okay, but like with our current situation, the way it is, I think there's problems that can occur. I mean, for instance, when the COVID thing first hit, like I think it was late March when they just shut the rooms down altogether. And if you
was that a knee-jerk reaction? Mark, do you think it was a knee-jerk reaction to just, we're going to close everything down? Out of fear and...
Well, I don't know that I want to answer that question.
Okay, all right.
There's wisdom right there.
There's some things that went on that
right
lead me to believe that the idea of a knee-jerk reaction is absolutely correct. So,
I think a lot of our society did a knee-jerk reaction.
Well, look what happened at the Capitol the other day.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Sure. Do you think it was a knee-jerk reaction?
Same as Marv. Like a no comment situation. But the thing is that people that, in my opinion, that were really wrapped up in their AA meetings and that was their life, we personally know quite a few people that relapsed. And I'm not saying it's
because the door shut?
Absolutely because of that, but it didn't help any. And so it kind of, to me, is like evidence that you should, if you can, try to expand your life a little bit.
That's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Is it not? I mean, because what happens if you can't get to the meeting? I do get concerned when I hear people say, man, if I don't get to a meeting, I'm going to drink. Okay, I understand that. If you've never worked the steps, if you've never applied the spiritual principles of the program in any way, shape, or form, and all you've done is sat in the chair and drank coffee, you're going to become meeting dependent. And as long as the meeting is operating, as long as the doors are open, you'll be all right, right? But what happens when they shut? If you don't have some spiritual principles to fall back on, or you haven't gotten to that place in maturity in your walk, in your recovery, you may fall back into some old behaviors. And so we have to be mindful of that, right? But therein lies, going back to what you first said, Marv, that thing about meeting makers make it. We need to be careful that we're not raising meeting dependent people, but helping to usher in God dependent people, because that's what the program of AA is. If you're not doing that, that's not AA. It may be something very healthy. It may be something that's doing a lot of good, but that's not AA. AA's whole thing is to help you develop a relationship with a power greater than yourself to help you solve your problem. And that power cannot be the rooms. Because if you're powerless, like Bruce used to say, and I'm powerless, 0 + 0 = 0. Let's shift gears. Denver.
Yeah.
You are not necessarily a meeting attender.
Not any longer.
So what's your take on all this? because you're staying sober. You have a good job. You do service work. You show up at this station.
I have a relationship with Christ, which is my mainstay.
Right.
You know, through this COVID thing, I consider myself a very social person. So,
do you?
I do.
Really?
And those that actually know me would probably vouch for that. But
would we?
I also cherish my alone time, and through this COVID thing, I've learned to enjoy my company a lot more. You know, I find a certain amount of serenity being alone. It's not that I'm isolating. It's just that I'm happy with who I am. I found some answers in my life. You know, I've stumbled along through this whole thing. Continue to stumble in life quite a bit. But I've finally found, I've come to a place where, what is it? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
And it's just, the realization is, I'm tired. I've given it to God. I'm going to do the best I can, but without Him, I'm not going to be able to make it. So I talk with Him daily and regular. You know, I keep my fellowship going with the people that I'm really close to. You know, like you said, the radio station here. I'm still in contact with Teen Challenge. I'm not out there much visiting due to the COVID.
So you are. Maybe not in the AANA conventional sense, but you are plugged into a recovery community.
Correct. When I first started, you know, I was forced to go to AA years ago due to the courts, and that lasted about 6 meetings. And after that, I said, yeah, this ain't for me. Well, anyways, I ended up in Sweet Home, and I was not mandated to go, but I started going to meetings up there, and I fell in love with AA. I mean, I was there every meeting that they had.
Right.
And then we got into a men's meeting up there that I helped get involved in, and attended that even after I stopped going to the other meetings. But when I moved down here to the Valley, I attended a few, and I never felt what I felt in Sweet Home. You know, that was a unique group of people. I have to say the least,
because that was my home group for years.
Yeah.
And
I never felt the same as I did up there. So I haven't been to a lot of meetings down here. I've dropped into a few, and they've never struck me as well. Then I ended up in Teen Challenge, and that's where my real change began to happen.
Because the focus was much more in your face about who God was, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
it was blatant, and I've always
you needed that.
I've always needed something,
right?
You know, whether it was, I was aggressive in finding the dark side, you know, and I went there, and it filled a void in me for a time, but it wasn't filling me fully. You know, I've always had a spiritual side, good or bad. It's been spiritual.
Yeah, sure.
And then I have a relationship with Christ, and suddenly it's a lot fuller.
Well, Bob Dylan sang the song, you know, you're going to serve somebody.
Everybody going to serve somebody.
Yeah, everybody going to serve somebody.
Yeah.
So there would be those listening to this show right now that would be very critical of folks that started out attending meetings or going to AA or 12-step fellowship, and then, may I just say, maybe grew beyond that to where that's not their niche. And they would say, well, that guy's going to relapse. That guy's going to drink. That gal's going to use, you know, because they haven't been around for quite a long time. It's only a matter of time. And yet there are people that attend meetings every day and they're still using. Right? So really, how accurate is that? I mean, I'm not willing to make that judgment call anymore.
If you find something that works, you should use it.
Stick to it.
Yeah. No matter where that comes, whether it's AA, your church, whatever.
Yeah.
If it's working for you, you should stick with it.
Especially if it's doing more for you than just sobriety. If
Correct.
It's helping you grow and mature in a way that's beyond just abstinence.
If you're not drunk, you're going to be able to move forward in life. I know that I stall. When I drink, I stall.
Mm-hmm.
It's a level. I don't do anything. I get stuck on drinking, and that's all I'll do.
Sure.
If I'm not, then I'm moving forward and I'm going, well, you ought to do, you could be better at that.
Right.
Be kinder, be nicer, lend a hand, whatever. You're doing something proactive.
Yeah.
To whereas if I'm drinking, I stall and I sit. I contemplate. Yeah, I got great ideas sometimes.
And come around full circle to myself, I try very hard to keep the out-of-county meeting experience very private. And I've had some bad experiences trying to have one foot in media and one foot in the fellowship locally. And so I've had to make some decisions to where I keep where I go. For the most part, very few people know where I go. And I think I've known directors of treatment programs and outpatient programs that they're very active in their fellowships, but you're not going to find them, and there's a reason for that. But one of the warnings I do, because I've experienced this, one of the warnings about, because I also work in the recovery field professionally. That's not talking about the radio station. We don't get paid here. But as director of addiction education, if you will, and recovery education at a residential program, a year-long residential program, I'm in the stuff all the time. That cannot replace one's personal recovery. And professionals in this field, make that mistake a lot. And they stop associating with people outside their profession that are in recovery, and then they fall off the rails. Because it's like the pastor or the rabbi or the priest that is constantly feeding their congregation or their synagogue or whatever, and they're never getting mentored. They're never, they're never at somebody else's feet learning and that kind of thing. And then when the proverbial hits the fan, they have nothing to lean on. So those of you who are in the profession, and those of you that are working in the recovery circles, if you don't have some people that are outside of that you can talk to and that you can be accountable to, and that you can help you apply the principles that are in the program in your life, beware, because it can come back and bite you. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. What happened to so-and-so? He was the director of such and such. Well, he wasn't doing anything for his recovery. He was doing everything for everybody else's. And that is something that we can fall into even within our 12-step fellowships, right?
Yep.
To where we're doing service, because, boy, we sure drive that home, don't we? Don't we, Marv? Service work, to the point where you're going to burn out.
Yeah, that's why a lot of times I talk about this idea of legislation.
Right. Trying to legislate morality.
We got people in our groups that are can have control issues, and they see something going on. Well, you're not working the program. And we have a guy in our group with over 40 years of sobriety, and he was chairing a specific day noon meeting. He didn't show up one day, and another guy who is a legislator jumped on him and shook his finger in his face and says, "You are not working a good program. You didn't show up to chair your meeting."
Oh, wow.
The guy was at the doctor's office.
Oh, my goodness.
And I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And, I get tight-jawed about stuff like that. I really do.
I was in a meeting several years ago. It was a rather large one, and I was whining and boo-hooing about stuff going on in the meetings. And this guy, I know who he is. I see his face, but I can't remember his name. But that's not important. But he interrupted me, which technically is a no-no, right? But he did. But I'm glad he did. He says, "Perhaps you're going to too many meetings." And I thought, what a concept, because he was right. I was like 3 times a day, every day.
Wow.
6 times on Sunday kind of thing, right?
Yep.
I mean, it was crazy. And then I was wondering why I was getting a resentment. Well, let me tell you something. When you're spending that much time with people, they become your family. And I don't know too many families that spend that much time together that don't have a bone to pick with each other once in a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to go over here and go to that meeting for a while. Mm-hmm. Don't stop going, but find something else to plug into that's helping feed your recovery. But maybe you should step back a little bit, get some perspective. Because I don't care who you hang out with. You hang out with somebody, one person, long enough, you're going to find a character defect that pushes your buttons. You just will. And then we have to pause and ask the question, why am I got my button sticking out so far? But yeah, I mean, we are unrecovered control freaks that get into recovery, and we're still control freaks many times. Mm-hmm. So with that, any closing thoughts?
I do.
Goody.
I have one thought, which is amazing. Well, you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about the book of Ecclesiastes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a section in there that says, there's a season for all things, a time to be born, a time to die.
Sure.
And I look at it personally that way about meetings. There's a season, there's a time. And, I go once or twice a week, and sometimes I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But when the time comes, I know where to go.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part to me.
And that's important.
So, anyway.
We are fortunate to live in the kind of community that here in Lynn County, Lynn, Benton, Lane counties, that normally, if you just look at the terrain even, normally might have 1 or 2 meetings. And we're just inundated with meetings. I mean, there is a meeting on every corner every day of the week. I mean, you can't escape it. There's nobody can say I can't find one. You know what I mean? I'm amazed at the meeting schedule just for Lynn County. Mm-hmm. There are major metropolitan cities that don't have as many meetings as this county has. Now, I'm not saying they're all healthy and wonderful and, yip, yip, hooray, hip, hip, hooray, I didn't drink today kind of meetings, but they're out there. And if you want to find one that'll tick you off, you'll find those. And if you want to find one that'll, help you in your recovery and help you grow and develop your relationship with a power greater than yourself, you'll find those. But there's a lot. And faith-based, agnostic, LGBT 4934. I don't know whatever they call it. You got those. You got stag meetings. You got. Do we have any women's meetings?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have women's meetings. And whatever your thoughts on that is, specialized meetings, whether that's a tradition break or not, that's for another show. But the fact is, there is a wide variety.
Yeah.
And no, just without excuse, if you're looking for a meeting, you can't say, "Well, I can't find one,"
right.
Or that didn't work. Well, then try another one. I mean, they're all so we're real fortunate for that. Any closing thoughts, Margie?
No, just I know personally, I kind of switched my main meeting here recently to early morning meeting. For me, that works good because I like to start my day with a dose of sobriety, and that worked for me. But I'm just saying that if somebody's like maybe their meeting is not working for them, like you said, try another meeting.
Sure.
Maybe different time of the day.
Yeah. Denver, closing thoughts?
It's a new year, attitude shift.
Ooh.
Let's get started.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said it's just another number to whine about. 2021.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So far.
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. I do know this, that just because all this stuff that's going on politically and socially and everything's going on, don't pull back from your recovery. You know, if anything, press in, because if it hasn't gotten interesting enough for you yet, it's gonna.
It's coming.
It's gonna. All right, our closing song is by our friend Don Wilder, donwilder.com. That's DAWNWILDER.com. And it is entitled Believe. Here's Don. the beautiful voice of our friend Dawn Wilder. For more of her music and videos, visit her website at dawnwilder.com. Until next time, this is the Monty Man along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio family, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
Come on in. Come on in.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
This is the place.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Meow, meow, meow.
Woof, woof.